gonna get to know you. We're gonna talk it out. We're gonna get to know you and what you're all about. We're gonna get to know just what makes you feel alive. We're gonna get to know how you build, lead, and thrive. Build, Lead, and Thrive. Voices of the Androscoggin.
Welcome to Build, Lead, Thrive, Voices of Androscoggin, a bi-monthly podcast that features in-depth conversations with the people shaping Androscoggin County. Each episode dives into personal stories, highlighting the leaders, creatives, and entrepreneurs behind the region's economic and community vitality. I'm your host, Shanna Cox, President and CEO of the LA Metro Chamber. I am joined by local talent, longtime friend, and our producer, Mr. Mark Turcotte. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
This is it.
Yes.
This is it.
Today's the day.
I'm verklempt.
It's going to be joyous. And for our listeners, I know you're listening to this sometime March 25th or later, but we are recording this on St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
So when you see us all wearing green, we were celebrating today. Together, we highlight the people building a stronger economy and vibrant community right here in our region and share the stories of how they build, lead, and thrive. Today, we have an extra special episode. We're joined by Susan Ruhlin, an entrepreneur, startup ecosystem leader, and economic development strategist who will serve as the new president and CEO of the Lewiston-Auburn Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for that
Congratulations.
kind intro.
Yeah. We'll tell people a little bit about you, but today is like a baton handoff. We're in a relay, and I get to hand it to you, and people get to meet you through this episode. They'll be, depending on when you're listening to this, you'll get a chance to meet Susan at an upcoming breakfast or brewing connections, or maybe you'll be on a committee or in the chamber, but we wanted to give you a fun and easy way to get to know Susan and find out a little bit about her incredible history, what makes her such a great fit for this role, and introduce her to all of you. So that's what today is about. I hope you're excited for it too.
I am so excited, and it feels like this has been also a long time coming.
Yeah. Well, you've been interviewing forever.
The chamber was very careful, and I do appreciate that. But so far, it's just been
it's a long process.
A long process, but a really wonderful experience and a very transparent experience, which I really appreciated too.
Yeah, it matters to us, and we have incredible members. We have an incredible team. We service 16 communities across Androscoggin County, and they're all amazing. We love this place that we're in, and I love that CMA, which is Career Management Associates, the search firm, our board and search committee did take really great care in really thinking about not how does somebody replace me or how does the job description that I was hired with 6 years ago. Like, we have changed as a chamber, we've changed as a region. And so folks really did think very strategically, what is it we need from leadership now? What are we going to need in the coming years? And I just love the care that was taken for that. And I love that in a very competitive role, you are our next president and CEO. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited.
Well, I feel like you've left me with such a well-oiled machine. Like, I'm not coming in to put out fires, I'm really coming into something that's, just working so well in such a wonderful community. I should say communities plural, because as you mentioned, there are so many that the chamber serves, and the team and the board and the greater community. I feel so fortunate, and I'm really looking forward to what the next few years will bring here. So I hope we can kind of capitalize on your good work and then continue to, tell the wonderful stories of the work and the people here and why this is such a great place to live and work and raise a family.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. And I love and appreciate that it's a well-oiled machine. I think it is. I mean, there's a couple of gears that we've been adding in. Like, we are a machine with momentum behind it. Yeah. And I think for me, that's the most exciting part is we have changed a lot in the last 6 years. We've grown, we've diversified the services that we offer. The community's needs have changed, and we have changed along with them. And it's more like, how do you have a jumping off point that just allows the next phase of growth and change to be incredible and successful and wonderful for the members and for this region and for this team. And I'm a lifelong member of the Girl Scouting movement, and we talk about the fact that I'm a Girl Scout often. It's Girl Scout cookie season, so this is the time of year where you want to know a Girl Scout for sure. But our kind of ethos in Girl Scouting is to like leave it better than you left it. And of all of the things, I feel really confident on that particular front that, you know, there's definitely still some things that are being tweaked and they're growing, but it's better than it was, and hopefully in 6 years' time you can say the same thing, which is a wonderful thing, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite quotes is, "We are the ones we've been waiting for."
Yeah.
And I just think that just speaks volumes to no one's going to do it for us. We're going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we have something great. We're going to make it better, right? And we're going to continue to do that. So that's kind of my personal ethos. And also make no small plans, which is something my former colleague from the Central Maine Growth Council used to always say. And I totally think that's such a true sentiment as well.
Yeah, you are going to have all the things you need to do all of that well.
I think so.
I have no doubt about it.
Yeah.
You certainly have the like wherewithal and drive, I think. Let's hear a little bit more about your history so folks have a sense of that, because I think it's quite impressive. So Susan is the founder of Join a Table, a startup focused on creating meaningful connections through shared dining experiences. She most recently served as managing director at Dirigo Labs, where she led a startup accelerator supporting early stage companies across Central Maine. She's spent 9 years with the Maine Center for Entrepreneurs as program manager for Top Gun, a program that we've had here. And so there's a lot of connective tissue, I think, there. You helped grow one of the state's leading accelerator programs into that. And you also bring private sector experience from your time as vice president of operations at Introspective Systems, or as most folks would probably know of them, Dynamic Grid. You're known for building strong partnerships across business and community. Susan brings a collaborative, innovation-driven approach to economic development. I'm so excited for that history. It fits so well into the themes of the work that we do here. So officially, welcome to Build Lead Thrive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You made me sound so great. Wow.
I mean, you did all that. That's you. I just said it out loud. Isn't that wonderful? It is the right blend of experiences and skill sets for what is a really dynamic role, and a role that has like ever-changing needs. There's days at the end of the day that I'm like, I cannot believe that was my day and this is my job, because it included like meeting the governor and having a press conference in the middle of the day, followed by a one-on-one with a business owner, and then you slip in a workforce committee. Your days can be really different, and that experience speaks well to a really good fit for what can be a really fluid role, which is amazing. So in our first segment, we like to get to know you, and so this one's a little bit light. We try to get to learn you a little bit beyond your title and your bio, and so just some light questions. When you have a free weekend in Maine, how do you typically spend it?
I like that question. I love to explore and learn. I consider myself to be a very curious person, so going to a place I haven't been before is always something that appeals to me. So, you know, somebody might say, "Oh, have you been to Smalls Falls, a waterfall, to explore?" Or maybe a cool restaurant that's like, I just recently went up to Kingfield, and I went up to a new little small restaurant up there I'd never been to, and some really great little artisan gift shops there. So to me, that's really fun. We have a boat.
Oh, fun.
Yes. It's a 1961 jet boat, all original.
Oh, wow.
So it's not like we're zooming around the lake, pulling,
that's like,
water skiers.
That's a vintage classic
It's
boat.
very vintage. Yes, very fun. So sometimes you'll find me there,
Do you do 4th of July parades? That's a thing in the boat community, right? Is like the...
No, I can't say that
we call it. There's a...
Like boat parades.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so, and I'm a huge animal person. So you'll find me taking my golden retrievers out doing something for...
How many goldens do you have?
I have 2. They're siblings.
Aww.
Yeah. So, yeah, they keep me busy too. So
there's a whole bunch of dog folks here at the chamber.
I know.
We mix in some cat folks too, and Dawn, our operations manager, which we've talked about it occasionally on the. She's like Dr. Doolittle. She's got a little bit of everything. She's got some dogs. She's got some cats. I think she has a bearded dragon. Some, I don't know, hamsters. The woman has never met a pet
great.
she's not willing to rescue.
Yeah, that's me too. I was recently actually taking a goldfinch that was stuck in a bird feeder. It had one of its little talons stuck.
Aww.
So I was trying to hold it. It was pecking me, and I know you're supposed to be so careful, but still, it was an emergency. And my husband broke apart the bird feeder, and we got it rescued, and on it went. But
Aww. See,
Yeah.
I love that. Tell me, after a full or high pressure day, what helps you reset? Is there something that you consistently come back to that helps you recharge?
I don't want to sound woo-woo, but
Oh, sometimes you need some woo-woo.
yeah, you do. And there's I think it's a Japanese term called forest bathing. You just literally go out in the woods.
Yeah.
That's me. Like I love the company of trees sometimes. No tech, nothing, just being out in the woods, just, I'm usually with my dogs, but just hiking on a trail somewhere. I find that incredibly relaxing.
Yeah.
Listening to books on tape sometimes, especially when you're commuting, that can be really helpful.
What kind of book genre do you fall into for the long commutes?
Yeah, mostly literature and fiction.
Yeah.
I really like Lily King. She's a Portland, Maine-based author, so I love her stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, sometimes nonfiction's great too, though. So yeah, a little bit of everything.
If I'm going to be on a long commute, I want to get lost in a book.
Yeah.
And I tend to read like paper, bedside stand or at my desk. I tend to read a lot of like educational books, nonfiction. But man, I love getting lost in a good book.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
There's
audio
nothing
or
like it.
otherwise.
Yeah, and audio is just nice because if you're driving,
So your work has spanned startups, economic development, and community building. What's something about your path or personality that might surprise people who only know you professionally?
I'm a pretty good baker. I'm pretty good with sourdough bread.
You're going to have to prove that.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, we work together all week next week, and I am looking forward to some sourdough.
Yes. Yeah. When everybody was home from the pandemic
Yeah.
and doing sourdough, like I was literally doing sourdough. Also, I already touched upon this, but during that time, I became an avid bird watcher, which everybody else did as well. But I think I'm pretty good now, even with the calls. Like I can hear
Really?
the birds and I can generally identify them. So
My partner has like an incredible skill for that, and I just like whether it's birds or music, I can't discern. He can pick out like the guitar line or the flute in an
and they
orchestra.
change throughout the year, and so that's something. So most people probably don't know that about me.
As you step into this next chapter, how are you thinking about showing up, not just as a leader, but as a person in this role? Is there anything that feels important to you?
Just absolutely getting to know all of the team, not as coworkers and colleagues, but as people.
Yeah.
So spending time with them, I hope they'll indulge me by having lunch with me, and so I can just learn about their personal story and their journey and what led them to the role. I think that's so important. I shared this when I was meeting with some of the board members. I think there are managers who are very ultra professional. Here's my line. I don't ever let my private life seep in, and I respect that. That's certainly a choice people make. But I am a person who I want to know what's going on in your life. Like I care. Is your mother-in-law sick, or were you up with your dog last night at the vet? I want to know that because I want to be a compassionate and nurturing leader. Yeah. And I think that's helpful to truly understand people and the whole atmosphere that they're from, what their journey has been, and where they're going. So,
I love that. I think I've always thought about myself, but also this team, and there's so many of the people that we work with, whether it's the volunteers on the boards, the folks who serve on committees, the members and ambassadors that show up at events, that no matter how you might want to, no matter how you might try to leave your personal life at the door, you just can't. You're a whole person, and you are always bringing your whole self to whatever you're doing. And I agree with you. I think it's so much more advantageous to know somebody as who they are as a human, because it informs all of the other ways that they show up.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, I'm a mother of 3 daughters too,
So I have 3 boys. People like you make me feel better that the world is staying balanced, because most of the folks in my world, all of my friends had lots of boy children. And I'm like, someone out there has to be having girls, right?
Yes, that was me.
Keeping the balance there. Thank you. Thanks for keeping the world. That makes me feel better. I appreciate that. We'll start with talking kind of through Build. You've worked closely with entrepreneurs for years and also built your own company. What first drew you into startup spaces? Not everybody goes there.
I know. I guess I've always been a person who's slightly comfortable with risk. Yeah. I think, I should honor my husband, because he's created an opportunity for me to be able to take a chance, particularly on my most recent startup. But yeah, you have to be comfortable with risk. Mm-hmm. You have to be project oriented. I think that I have the most admiration in the world for small business owners and startup founders, because if you have created a job for someone else, it's not just you've got all the burden of your own business and all the expenses, but you've taken on your employees and their families. Yeah. That's incredible. So I always hold the entrepreneur with the utmost esteem. Yeah. So, and I always, I have never taken, until my most recent venture, I had never taken something from ideation through commercialization. I've certainly helped people through that process, but until you go through that yourself, it's only made me have more admiration for those people. Now, many years ago, I did have a small business as well called Formal Dress Required in Gorham. I had a partner. Oh. So I do have a little bit of the small business side as well.
Did you start that business too?
I did start that business, and I ended up selling my share to my partner. But we participated in a really cool mentoring program through Key Bank. So early on, I really saw the benefits of mentoring, and I hope I can be a good mentor to the people that I encounter in this role.
You will have no lack of opportunity for that.
I'm looking forward to being able to share what I've learned along the way, but also equally important to learn from other people, because I think that you have to keep that in balance. Things are changing all the time. The programs that I thought maybe would be really helpful 5 years ago, I wouldn't say that I think that's the same now, because I think everything is evolving and changing, particularly with things like AI.
Spoiler alert. Susan and I got the chance to hang out at lunch together a little bit today and talk a little bit about AI, and under the kind of auspices of Build, you and I were talking about this really interesting this inflection point that we're in around technology and AI, and you were talking some about rural areas that might be talent deserts for specific skill sets, and how kind of intentional use of AI might meet that need. And we've done some work with our members previously to kind of keep them current on some of the changing landscape of AI, but it is changing so rapidly. It is. And that's an area that you're doing some active learning in right now.
Yes. I'm actually in an accelerator called AI Forward Studio, which is sponsored by NASDAQ and brought to us through an organization called the Center on Rural Innovation, which is based in Vermont but has a national footprint. And they do a lot of work to try to solve for the lack of technical jobs in rural areas. They always cite the statistic that there are only 15% of jobs in rural areas are tech jobs. And so in rural parts of Maine, we don't have necessarily the talent that we need to implement, it's like a flywheel, to implement the beginnings of building some of the technical infrastructure that could really be used to kind of solve for some of the labor shortage. And so it's evolving quickly. Yeah. But I'll be learning how to implement some of these AI solutions that can be, for an electrician to be able to have someone who can manage appointment setting or scheduling or even ordering inventory as an example, or any number of types of businesses. I think being able to use these AI tools, I think, can be a real asset now. We tend to think of all the negative aspects of AI. And believe me, I sometimes share that same opinion as we think of that as eliminating jobs. But I also think there's a story to tell where AI can be used to sort of assist with growing companies.
Yeah.
And it might be a good solution. So I'm looking forward to it starting, and I'm happy to report back what I learn and share in that. So
that's exciting. It's it's funny you were talking about risk, because that's often a theme that comes up in the interviews that we have here. I was here in this role when AI went from being, this thing that, would happen in the future to actually happening, and the very early releases of that. And I'm wondering where you might have been at in that kind of time frame, Mark, but there was a period in which everyone was very resistant. Like, no, we will not use AI at work. Oh, dear God, don't put the information into, like, who's going to get that? And there was just a lot of risk adversity, and we saw it across sectors in our membership. And we were really trying to be forward thinking with our members in the way we introduced information about, like, yes, sure, you can have a policy about how you or your staff will use AI, but also you should encourage the use of AI in a way that like allows people to learn, because it's a skill that's going to have to get developed pretty quickly. And we've seen that change. How has that been in your world as well?
Yeah, everyone uses it around the office, except me. I still don't know why. I haven't embraced it yet.
Have you experimented or played with it?
Just a bit.
Yeah.
But I value authenticity over anything else.
Yeah.
And to me, it feels cheap. We've all heard the term AI slop.
Yeah.
And you can, when it comes to graphic design, when it comes to writing, you can still tell.
Social media, you can spot it so quickly.
Yep. So I think that's why I've been reluctant.
We were pretty quick to play with it here. We put some like guardrails in among the staff, but actually like challenged ourselves to use it, like in staff meetings or something. Like we have project meetings where we're kind of hands-on some of our collaborative projects, and really challenged ourselves to play with it. And I think like that, Mark, a lot of my original thinking and even my own use cases really lent itself to being in those spaces of, written, like very written work. And I still haven't, like, I am resistant on any graphic design stuff. Like I haven't.
Don't you have to notate that it's made by AI too?
Yeah, right. And thanks, but no thanks, just in general to all of it. But then the folks who are doing really creative work are ones who are creating automations and spreadsheet stuff that I don't know that it's inauthentic, because the 16 software systems that I run on the daily to do my regular work they're also authentic.
It can be so great for operational efficiency, or I don't know if you've played with Notebook LM before. You should try it if you're a little AI resistant, because it's such an interesting thing. So you can take any sort of document or a resume or anything, and it will spit out a podcast. So what is so interesting about that is maybe you've written your resume, but now you're hearing it discussed by two, and they sound just like their NPR co-hosts, and they form an actual podcast of your resume, and you become suddenly sort of the guest that they're talking about. Really useful to hear how things are landing, maybe. Or for your marketing, maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, I thought this would be the most salient point, and then it reads it back to you. So there are some interesting uses of AI that are, because I take all your points and I agree with them. Am I trying to compare like two large-scale studies and I want to know the difference, and I don't have the time to read the 50 pages?
Real.
That can be really effective, Or spotting through, financial calculations if there's something missing, a transposed number or something. I think that can be really beneficial.
Well, it's funny. Was it Notebook LM that you just talked about?
Yeah.
That, so I think I did learn about that, or maybe another one but that essentially takes written stuff and gives you like an audio. So one of my kids has a nonverbal learning disability. And so for him, being able to hear it really just makes everything hit. And so he'll take notes, and reading the notes doesn't help. Seeing him write the notes, the physical kinetic like activity of writing the notes all of those don't help information sit or retain with him. And so we actually talked about him using one of these AI tools to like be fed the learning content, and then for him to hear it actually kind of talked back to him, and that's a really great use case that we've loved as well.
Yeah. I think, and for me, like, I think there are so many different ways that you can receive information, you know, so I tend to be a visual learner, you know, but I think a person I worked closely with in the past is Jason Harkins. I don't know if you know him. He's the dean of the Maine Business School. But he used to tell me all the time, there's research that writing notes, actually handwriting the notes is so much better. So sometimes the old-fashioned approach, I still think, is also, there's room for that too.
So I'm one of those people that I write stuff not because I'll ever look at it again. And honestly, half the time it's not completely legible.
Right.
But it is the fact that I wrote it physically that allows it to like hit and
even
file.
like not even doing it on like a tablet, like pen to paper, you know?
Yeah, the real deal. And then I just throw away the paper usually. And people are like, why did you even?
Well, I'm a doodler.
It's the doing.
I do the doodles too. And sometimes those like click something for me. I don't know. No, sense.
I think what I love about in general of kind of the arc of society and where we're getting to shared understanding is that like we actually finally understand that people learn in different ways, they process information in different ways, and I think there are more spaces that we have gotten better at embracing kind of multiple learning methods, and like both at work and in classrooms and in kind of early education. But I just like growing up in the 80s, that was not my experience. Everybody learned the same way. Here's the chalkboard. And I mean, I was fortunate that most of the time that fit with my learning style, but some of my closest friends, it didn't. And I just, watching my kids come up now, there is a very different learning environment. And it's been interesting and fun to watch adults feel that like welcoming embrace and get to experience other learning modalities in their workplace after, decades of like, there's only one way. And now they're, for the first time saying, so I can do it this other way, and we're gonna do it 3 different ways so that all of us can understand it, no matter how our brain works. That's amazing.
Can I say it?
Yeah.
But that's the way we've always done it.
You know it, right? It's the worst thing ever, isn't it? I hate that phrase.
Yeah.
In part because when I arrived, there was this like, there was certainly a staunch section of our membership that like when I would be like, so why do we do this way, and help me understand what our choices are here and what we could change or shift or improve, and there was always this resounding like, because we've always done it that way, and we will continue. And then anyway, we moved away from that, and those words are banned.
Good.
So you'll have all the flexibility.
Yeah.
Yes, when you ask a question, why do we do it that way, you should get a really good answer like based on feedback, or the data tells us, or in 2024 we tried X and learned this from it.
That's great.
Yeah, I do, because we've always done it that way. Resist that, Susan.
Yes.
Resist that strongly. Shake your fist at the sky and say, no, that's not good enough. We want better. So we love to touch on leadership, and you have some great leadership experience, and you'll be leading this team, this chamber. You've led programs and worked across sectors. How would you describe your leadership style today? You've already given us some hints of it, but how would you describe it?
I am a very classic lead from behind person. I like people to feel empowered to do things. I want people to feel safe, that there's always a collaborative space to share an idea. To me, my role is to take none of the credit and all of the blame. I think that's a skill set that is important, and I would love anyone on the team to feel like, I want to try this idea, and if it's great, you get all the credit. If it wasn't great, I'm also, I really believe strongly in that adage of fail fast, fail cheap.
Yeah.
So let's try it. If it doesn't work, we'll parking lot it for a while, but let's not spend thousands of dollars and hours doing this too. So, but I like to think of myself as a collaborative person, and success doesn't come with one person. I'm not a traditional hierarchy kind of person. I don't always think flat works either. You do need decision makers. So I'm sort of that hybrid model, I think, if I were to describe it.
even good flat or collaborative organizations, there's a paralysis that happens when it's not clear, not just who makes decisions, but how decisions are made. And I think that was one of my hard learning curves in this role, is being able to say to somebody, I would love you guys to give me your input, and ultimately I'm going to make the decision based on your input versus here's a decision that we're going to make together, and there's a lot of different ways to do it, but it's the clarity.
Precisely. I think teams flounder when there aren't guardrails, but I also think teams are successful when everyone scopes the project together. So we're going to do this. These are the assets we're going to need. Let's design this together, and then we can, go forward based on that. But when people don't have buy-in, or their opinions are not asked, or they're going to have all the experience, I'm not going to have it, right? So I need to rely on that, and I need to have good advice and advising on that, which I certainly plan to do, you know?
Yeah. What was it? We had the president of Central Maine Community College, Betsy, and I think she called it the gift of no. Do you remember how she described it? She's like, sometimes people just need the gift of no. Let's not meander it on and be able to just say, like, no, that one's not going to work. And like, oh, great, we'll take that off the table and move on. And it really is a gift that sometimes you might not even know you want somebody to give you. But when they give it to you, you're like, oh, that's great. Great. Okay, next then. Yeah.
Collaborative, like, project manager, like, what can I do to remove roadblocks? How can I help in that way, I think. And also just listening, because, there's nothing worse than going to the basketball game and assuming the coach didn't try something in practice when they tried it. Like you alluded to earlier, lots of stuff's been tried, and there's a reason behind it, and you just can't come in from the outside and assume, oh, well, they never did that. Of course it's probably been tried,
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, that exactly. And then it's like, ask the question, because the questions beg to be asked.
Right.
But ask it without assumption.
Right.
It's that blend that, because some people don't ask the question at all. Like, oh, they must have tried everything. This must be working perfectly. And like, oh, no, you should ask. You should absolutely ask if there's a better way. But not assume that there must be, or that something hasn't been tried. It is that blend, isn't it?
I totally agree. Yeah. And I don't know. I think that I'm going to learn a lot from this team. I really feel it. And from this whole experience, and from the community generally, you know, so.
And they from you. That's it's that reciprocity that I think.
And I think I'll bring outside perspective maybe, which can be really useful, I think, when you're not even I'll be able to see better how the outside storytelling is being received. Maybe that's something that I will bring to the table more, just because when you're inside something, sometimes you don't see it as much. But no, not that I think that's an issue, because I don't.
No, I'm sure that you. I'm sure you'll bring that. No, I think. Fresh eyes are really good. It's been a pain point for me, like with Love, at many points over the different iterations of teams, that someone will come in and be like, we should really improve this, and it's like, yes, and you should know how much it is already improved and the pain that went into this, but and continue to improve it, right? There's been moments where I'll kind of chuckle and be like, that's an amazing idea. And that goal that you just shared is a goal that I've had for 4 years. And the fact that we're almost to it is its own achievement. But also, yes, let's go get that. Let's finish that stretch. Yeah. You will bring that for sure. And it's so, I think that for me, when I was thinking about when it made sense for me to like, how long do I stay and to what end? And when I arrived in 2019, my goal was always to stay 3 to 5 years, to help the organization shift after some quick leadership changes, after a long-term legacy leader. And then I, finished my 5-year anniversary and was like, good Lord, how long am I staying? And you need fresh eyes. And like that benefits the health of the organization to have that kind of refresh. And so, I think that's, I hope you do all those things. I remember waking up one day and being like, well, while I love it and I could do it for forever, I could do it for forever. And that was never the intention, and isn't always good for things you don't plant the same crop in the same row over and over and over again and think that soil is going to keep giving something new.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's true. Yeah. That's a really good
Yeah.
point. I'm going to be thinking about that a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
No, I think it's that. And I'm so, I'm just so grateful that someone has those perspectives that you've been sharing and are like, come in and do something amazing that I never could have thought of. Come in and slay it all. Right? I think that's exactly right.
But it's tough because this is just what I've learned. This is so well. This organization is great. I mean, you guys have done so many good things here. My challenge is going to be making them better. I think.
No, but I think that's also going to be your success. So with love to my father, who he's a loving guy. Mark's laughing because Mark has the pleasure of knowing my dad.
Oh, okay.
You will probably meet him because he occasionally just pops in and says hello to everyone and uses the restroom. And shout out to my dad. He's a lovely fellow. But my own little piece of childhood trauma that has stuck with me in like really positive ways, but also I went to Girl Scout camp, as a Girl Scout would, and there's a swimming test at the front end of the swimming test. And I was always a very strong swimmer, right? I watched my dad walk up and introduced, and, they said, what's her swimming strengths? And, should we do the swimming test on the shallow side or the deep side? And my dad said, oh, she's probably midway there and you should start her on the shallow end. And I was
mortified.
I was upset and angry and mortified and killed my swimming test. And then they put me in the deep end and I was like one of the stronger swimmers there. And I just remember looking at my 2 weeks later when he picked me up saying, Dad, why would you make me go through like 2 swim tests and make me question that I'm a strong swimmer? And he goes, well, Shanna, because you could always be stronger and I didn't want them to not give you the opportunity to learn.
Oh.
And I'm sure that has always informed who I am. And so like it can be great and loved and amazing and 1/10 of what it has the potential to be 6 years from now, right? And it can be both. Go swim it into its next beautiful stage, I say. And I truly believe that, right? I genuinely believe that and want that because one of the first things I'm going to do when I turn over my keys and hand in my parking pass is fill out my application for my own business.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I was a proud member of this chamber.
Okay, check. We have one new member.
Yeah, congratulations. I'll wait until I'm officially off the payroll so you can claim that new membership as a win.
Great.
But I mean, I was a member for 6 years before, and I love this chamber, and I believe in chambers and how they contribute to communities and economies and how they strengthen businesses. And so, I'm excited to benefit from your like, you better kill it because I can't wait to have that support for, so it can be both things. And I remember coming in and being in the shadow of not one, but 3 former leaders. And I remember how just at times really well-intentioned, well-meaning people would say, like, how are you going to fill those shoes? Or are you going to be a chamber of business or a chamber of community? Which was a conversation that was had so often in my early days because 2 of the leaders who had been there for kind of shorter terms just preceding me, I think one had been kind of known as being a chamber of kind of business and the other was a chamber of community, and both are in our mission.
Yeah.
And so I remember just getting that question a number of times in the early weeks and just feeling like, yes, and a chamber of economy. Why are we picking? Like there's
it's
so much
symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, exactly that. And so having lived through that, I hope you don't have to deal with any of that. And to whatever extent you do, I'm sorry.
No, how could you even pick like one? You're trying to create a community where people want to live and work and raise a family. Yeah. Both, you need to have the work, the business, and the community side. So.
And they're more integrated than ever,
of
I think, these days in terms of how we live our lives. And we don't segment our lives quite the way that we used to decades ago, and it's just, I'm excited for your next phase. I'm excited to benefit from it and excited to witness it and, support it. And I hope every listener out there is feeling exactly the same way about what comes next for this incredible institution with an incredible new leader kind of leading the charge and all the next things. So, I genuinely genuinely believe and feel that. And
well, I feel that from you.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to our work together next week. Actually, for the next 3 weeks, because you were very nicely
I'm going to do the
staying.
jobs that aren't her job for 2 weeks so that she
know.
can just do her job for a little bit.
And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah. Happy to. I couldn't imagine. Yeah, you're stepping in at a time where we have a couple of vacancies, and like this was a hard enough job to learn when it was the only job to learn. I can't imagine learning them all at once. And so just take that pressure off you for a minute. Just, let's just get you access to your email. Let's start at the front end.
Yeah,
Turns out that's really important.
Right.
And sometimes it's those small tech things that cause the weird bumps on the first day. So here's to smooth IT.
Yes, I appreciate that, though. I really do. I think this is just going to be a great opportunity. And quite frankly, I'm so excited to come back to work. You know what I mean? Like I've been working that's one thing about being an entrepreneur, and I think any entrepreneur would tell you that it's a very lonely space. And so when we ran Dirigo Labs, we'd have in-person sessions. We had 3 sessions a week, but we'd have in-person on Thursdays. And honestly, it was always a therapy session.
Yeah.
Like, really, you can bring in a presenter, and that's helpful. But it's really that peer-to-peer. Like, oh, you're in this crazy state of being too? Okay, I am as well.
Yeah.
Wow. And then that collaborative, like, helping each other solve problems is so powerful. So,
well, and as we've moved to more remote work and like longer remote, even people who are hybrid are working 3 or 4 days remote and then 1 or 2 days in the office. You just really realize how much your creativity, how much your productivity benefits from those human moments in your day that aren't filled with solitude.
And when before the pandemic, we were mostly all working in offices, and so you could just poke around to a cubicle and say, "Hey, do you have a second? What do you think about blah, blah, blah?"
Yeah.
It's not so easy to do that online
No,
anymore.
and you have to be intentional.
You're on
about it.
Slack, and you're like trying to Slack huddle somebody, or you're using your G chat or whatever, and it just feels more intrusive.
Yeah.
Like you kind of feel like, oh, I shouldn't take too much of their time.
Wow, you should know that we are all up in each other's G chats around this office, so you'll fit right in on that front.
I love Slack actually as a tool, and it has the Slack huddle, and that is like literally tapping someone on the shoulder, like. It's the closest you can get to being in an office with somebody, I guess, but yeah.
See, we have, one of our team members, as you know, Nicole, although our listeners might not know, but one of our team members is a full-time, fully remote employee. She was an incredible member of our team here physically in the office in the chamber, and she lived in Wyndham, and then she chose to move to Florida with her family, and she gave her notice many months in advance, and towards the end of the school year she was going to move. And I don't know, I think we spent maybe 3 weeks being like, well, actually, why would we let you go? and how do we make that work? And so having a team member, and we're a close team, we're a collaborative team, having a team member be fully remote was something we kind of like tackled. Like, how do we make sure that isolation isn't something that settles in for her? And so sometimes we'll send her a DoorDash gift certificate. Like, so if we're doing a team lunch,
That's
she'll
nice.
join us with the owl in Zoom, and we'll get her delivery, or we send gifts for the holiday party and plan for it in advance so that she can open them when we do. And you have to be intentional about breaking isolation and being with people.
Yeah, and especially for a really solid, strong team member that you don't want to lose, right?
We spent I think both her and I spent a couple weeks being like, why would you assume you can't work for us?
Right.
Why would I assume you can't work for us? Can we question those assumptions? Can we maybe try this? And I think it's been maybe 2 years now that she's been fully remote, or May I think will be 2 years.
That's great.
Yeah, she kills it. But it would be lonely. I also was, a single business person working alone in my business before this job, and I was using Zoom before the pandemic, and it gets lonely. You have to
And I mean, we all know what the cost of childcare is now. It's more than a mortgage.
Yeah.
I talk to young colleagues, and they're telling me that some of them are close to $2,000 a month of what they spend, and you just think, we have to react to that.
Yeah.
Whatever we can do to accommodate. Because even if you're not sending your child, you have a week of vacation, you're still paying daycare.
You pay for,
and you don't begrudge the daycare because they have to have consistent income.
Yeah.
So, but it's on both sides of it. You see, that's a lot.
Well, and I know folks who like only need childcare 4 days a week, but they're going to pay for 5 because that's how they get the 4 days.
Yeah.
And you have to. Yeah, no, having my firstborn is twins. And so, we had not budgeted for two childcare at once. That was just part of the surprise package that my wonderful twins have continued to be in my life. And it was our mortgage payment at that time. And it is what kept me from starting my career professionally for another 5 years, because
a lot of
just
people
a choice
you
you can't make, you know?
It's tough.
Yeah. So this, as we talk about kind of moving to thrive and thinking about our community, and this is the opportunity for your kind of outside perspective, which I'm excited for. What do you see as the biggest opportunities for growth in this region of Lewiston-Auburn?
Something that I have learned more recently, and I don't want to, maybe you're already doing this, so please, but I think the opportunity to tell the storytelling is huge, I think, and which is not to say I don't think you're doing a great job with that, but also telling the story through data. And so I think understanding the impacts of that data can be really helpful in growing, whether that's, any sort of grant opportunity that would enable you to do some other programming that you could, implement, or just attracting members, understanding benefit utilization, what's landing with people, and maybe you already have a good sense of that. What are the events that are they, really creating good ROI? Maybe what are the ones that aren't? So I think diving into the data. Also, I'm very interested in economic impact modeling. Is something, maybe you've had an opportunity here to have economic impact studies. I didn't have a whole lot of experience in that, and then we won, I think I was telling you at lunch, we won some of that leftover ARPA money. We were designated, I should say, in Kennebec and Somerset County, the organization I previously worked for, to distribute some of that funding. And I remember scoring grants from small businesses and thinking, I don't know how to assess the economic impact of a small business that maybe doesn't have a lot of, annual sales and not a lot of full-time equivalents. And then later we, through a different grant program, we were able to do economic impact work. And that's where I started to understand about, that's this business, this is a flower shop or a book shop, but it's a vanity kind of business in that it makes the region attractive to people who want to move here because they want to live here because they want a bookstore or they want a coffee shop, and then look at the, maybe the annual sales were only 200,000, but look at the supply chain and model that out, right? And then what about the employees they do have and all of the economic impact that they have when they go buy lunch and they go buy coffee? So that's been really interesting to me. So I would really love to kind of dive into that. And
I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, so this may be something that I think is really a good opportunity, really for any region and any chamber. But, and economic impact studies are expensive.
Yeah.
But again, maybe there's some AI modeling tools that could be, implemented. It's just something that interests me personally. But, I think it's one thing to tell your success in a narrative and quite another to tell it with data. So if that's something that we could do that hasn't been done, that's probably something I'd be very interested in.
I mean, so we've told in our annual meeting each year for the last number of years anyway, we have told the story of data in terms of our membership, a little bit of information about our membership, what kind of businesses we have, what kind of sectors they're in.
Yep.
And we've told the impact of our members' dollars and how we spend our members' dollars and how much of our membership revenue goes right back into our community, into our vendors. I love data, and I think the opportunity to make that data more visually compelling is something that, as we were talking about earlier, I think some of what AI has brought is the ability to like do that without dedicating hours and hours and hours of time into that. So there's some good baseline data there, but I think there's so much opportunity to expand on what's there to really do that, particularly, and I think this is true for our chamber. I think this is true for any chamber. But when you start to think about market penetration, how many businesses are not members?
Right.
And how do we tell the story of our local economy, not just through the lens of membership? And there are places within our chamber where we're pretty untraditional chamber in comparison to our colleagues, particularly in Maine, where we have our, traditional kind of legacy chamber programs, membership, and activities. But then we have our foundation, and we have LAEGC and some of our loan clients and our economic development activities. And both of those areas are less member restrictive. And I think there's so much opportunity to tell that story and to learn about the opportunities there, as well as to think about the opportunities in what I've always referred to as the people who aren't members yet.
Yes, and the more rural, communities, and advocating for rural businesses is something that I think is really important, and something they are having deep impact in the state, and telling the story of their data, which so I'm really inspired that the chamber made an investment in technology, in your CRM, which integrates with your accounting, which integrates with your events management. I mean, that's going to be a game changer.
It's huge, and where you'll get to experience and hopefully share the benefits of that, because March, the end of March is the end of the 12th month in that system in its entirety, in all of the modules and having. So you will have a year of data.
That's great.
That is a baseline to start to pull from. Whereas everything from the last year has been us like starting to make some estimates, or like, okay, we're 6 months in, and there's some things that almost everything that we do is seasonal and cyclical. And so, it's
will help with your forecasting.
It's a gift to the future.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah. And was not something that we had really, like our previous CRM was just not great at capturing, integrating.
They're hard because CRMs traditionally have been really focused on sales.
Yeah.
And so the reporting that you could get from CRMs never seemed to fit like the nonprofit needs necessarily. So I think sounds like you have something very specific to chambers, and I think that's going to be just great. I'm looking forward to learning it.
One of the things that we spend some time kind of working on and partnering in community in is around workforce development. And so when you think about workforce development and entrepreneurship, how do you see them connecting to a thriving local economy? You've talked a little bit about the build, work, play, raise a family.
But, you have to also, I think, demonstrate your ability for job creation. And I think that's very, inspiring now to see what opportunities are available through I don't mean to say just, but through certificates.
Yeah.
Versus full on what we would have considered 4-year degrees. So you can do things, you can upskill very quickly and be very marketable. So exploring what those opportunities are for the future, what they are currently, I think will play a great role in that. And I'm excited I read the blueprint that you guys worked on, which I thought was wonderful. And then some of the programming through Strengthen LA, I think, so I really see it as an opportunity to really demonstrate our ability to be forward-thinking and coming up with some programming that will, benefit new Mainers to non-traditional learners to just providing opportunities. And I'm really excited. It's something probably I'm the most interested in, actually.
Both your risk tolerance and your kind of ability to like work in changing environments, which is super clear in our conversations today and also in your work history, that fluidity that you've had to manage in those spaces, so relevant to workforce. And maybe it wasn't pre-pandemic, but since 2020, our employers needs relevant to their workforce.
Yes.
Not only has changed a lot over the last 6 years, but the thing that has been really consistent is the fact that it is constantly changing. As we're seeing changes in, federal policy, that has changed kind of an impacted workforce. And there's just so much continuously happening that even Strengthen LA went from really being focused on recruiting employees for our businesses who had just these huge labor needs as people were like not coming back to work post-pandemic or, in those early years post-pandemic to, just in the last 2 years, they're really focused on retaining the employees that they have and upskilling those employees without significant gaps. And then what they do have for openings that they're recruiting for, they're really trying to move their talent through the pipeline instead of just like filling positions. And Strengthen LA has had to change, what it's doing, what it's training, and those. And I am confident of the many things that we can't know and a crystal ball will never tell us, that whatever comes next for our workforce is going to look different. Regardless of what it looks like, it's going to keep changing. And so I think your history in just being adaptive and using data will be so well suited to some of the workforce work that
it's really fascinating to see how it's evolved, and as we talked about at lunch, Androscoggin County's the youngest county, right? So, that's huge, right?
And particularly in this state. It's a big deal. We're not a young state. That's a huge advantage.
It really is. And so being able to leverage that, I think is great, And you can't have a conversation about economic development without talking about housing. Yeah, it's in every single conversation. And
we've pulled some record permits in Androscoggin County for new housing, single-family housing, subdivisions of housing, luxury rental, studio rental, workforce, senior housing. I mean, just it is a really diverse mix of housing types that are being put into our local market. And I think what you all are going to see, you all listeners, you all at the Chamber, what you're going to see in the next 3 or 4 years is the results of what happens when there's a place for people to live and move to
affordably.
Yeah, it's just going to be a game changer. And I think you'll see we've had some goals around a 6% population growth that we've been working towards in our efforts and kind of tracking. And certainly that's a result of many other factors and other people also doing good work. But the ability to see all of that come to fruition, and for you guys to be really able, as different industries and our larger communities, the municipalities that are, putting in some of this housing, Lisbon, Auburn, Lewiston have all been doing a lot of new housing. You're going to see the results of what happens when people move from other places that have restrictive housing and are able to live in a community and go to the coffee shop and buy food at the restaurant and get the book after work. And the really amazing part is a lot of those people can move here and still work from somewhere else. Would I love to see someone's Boston salary living in Auburn and spending their money?
Yes.
Absolutely. Come on in. And so, some of that really necessary community infrastructure is being built right now in a way that will only benefit.
Yeah.
Which is
great.
Yeah. And hopefully lower our tax bills as we go. That would be amazing. The more
a girl can dream.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's exactly that. We always like to end with a little bit of a looking ahead question.
Okay.
And so what is one thing that you hope people in this region feel or experience as this region continues to grow?
Pride.
Oh, that's a great one. That's it. End it. She nailed it. That's wonderful.
Yeah, because it's just, it encompasses everything people should feel. And I think they do. Yeah. But I hope they continue to feel
certainly,
that.
There's, what I will say, and this, I don't know that it surprises me any longer. So I moved here, I started working here 19 years ago. I moved here full time 16 years ago. And there's lots of people who have chosen this place as their home. And those folks have immense pride in this community. There are folks who have been born here, they're 3rd, 4th, 5 generations here, and there's still an opportunity for for some folks with that lived experience, that kind of generational experience, to feel pride again.
Yeah.
I think when the stories that have been told in households and in communities that, Lewiston Auburn was at its peak when when PEX was there, and, that was the experience, and anything that doesn't look like that is somehow less than, I think, really holds some people back from feeling a sense of pride. Whereas folks who don't have that reference point, don't have that anchor,
right,
love so many wonderful things about this community and have a real sense of pride. And so there is a lot of people and there is a lot of pride here, but you're right. I think it's an opportunity for so many folks, and is one of our biggest growth opportunities for this region, because there are a lot of folks here who either haven't experienced other places or who have literally been raised saying, like, we will never be as good as we were in the 50s ever again. And when that's like no growth mindset, right? It's such a fixed mindset place to operate from.
My great-great-grandparents came here from Berthier, Quebec, right? And my great-grandparents had a jewelry store called Hamill's Jewelry Store in Auburn.
Oh.
And so my whole life, I would come to visit my grandparents on Dion Street, and my mother didn't speak English until she was 7. She went to Holy Family School, and, and I remember just always hearing French here, and then witnessing this sort of cultural diversity that's taken place. And I don't think that was always necessarily easy.
Yeah.
But this integration of other cultures, I think now this region has a lot to teach the whole state. And so I think, I've always been attracted to kind of the textile cities, the Rust Belt cities, cities that have had to reinvent themselves after they lost a legacy in manufacturing. And I think that this region, these two twin cities in particular, can teach us a lot. Yeah. And that's all part of that sort of pride conversation that I hope we can continue to have.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Mark,
She nailed it.
I know, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, yep, check, wonderful. That's great. Wrap it up. Put it in the can. What do we say in the podcast world?
That's it.
Did I say it?
You got it.
Oh, that's it. I'm a pro podcaster now.
Look at you.
Going to be good for your political career.
Yeah, right. Let's really nail that. Any questions for Susan?
Just a couple. Susan, how would you describe this area to someone who has never visited?
Good one.
This area is an area where there's something for everyone, right? I mean, I love the arts community, right? You have theater. You have certainly all of the academic institutions here at every level for everybody.
Yeah.
You have an incredibly vibrant downtown. I've already experienced some of the great restaurants. But you can also be a little bit rural still. Like, you can get to the outskirts of Auburn, and, you still have farmland around. So I think it's just a diverse, good representation of maybe everything that Maine has to offer. All the best, And
it's an easy trip for any of them.
Yes.
It's my favorite
You've
part
got that
of
lovely commutability to everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So.
I love living in it. I have a house that my front stairs land on the sidewalk, and I know my neighbors and they walk by, and I love that lived experience. It's not for everybody, but I absolutely adore that life and chose it very intentionally. And I grew up in a really rural community, and there are some days where that part of me is thirsting for, like, the rolling hills and the green trees, and I can be there in exactly the same type of rural community I grew up in a 3-minute drive from my house. And I'm in farmlands, and there's a stream and a river and cows, and like, immediately I didn't have to drive 6 hours to get there, and then I can come home and order, take out curry and go to a show that night, and, like, how fortunate, right? And I love that about us too.
Yeah, it's great.
And just one more. I was curious what your initial feeling was when you learned that this job was available.
I read the job
6 months ago.
Yeah, no, it wasn't 6 months ago. But I read the job description, and I thought to myself, that has every aspect of that job is a little bit of what I've done in the past. Like it kind of wove everything together into one job. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's like a 1 in 100,000. Like,
it really is.
You know, it's such a unique role.
Yeah.
And I just felt like would be crazy not to take advantage of at least applying for this. So I was hopeful, and I kind of felt a little sense of kismet, maybe, I think, you know, and it came about at a time where I was like, okay, I'm ready. I had said to my husband, give me 6 months. I just want 6 months to solely focus on this. And he very generously supported me wholeheartedly to do that. But then I saw this opportunity. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. So I'm so looking forward to share and learn in this new role.
You'll love it.
I know I will. I really do.
You will.
Yeah.
You'll love it.
I'm under no preconceived notions that it will be easy.
Good.
But it's good work.
They can both exist in the same timeline.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. I think that's part of and I think you in particular, I think that's part of what you'll love about it.
Yes.
Is that it's got good challenges that are worth taking head on, that create impact and are wonderful. But it's also, you'll love it.
I think I will.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. For our listeners who are listening to this on release day, thanks. And I can't wait for you to get to meet Susan in all of these wonderful ways. Your next podcast she'll be hosting. I know it's going to be amazing. And so to all of you, it's been an amazing journey with you. And I'm excited to be part of the Chamber's journey, part of your journey, Susan, as you take this relay baton and carry it into the next, 32 miles. Is this a marathon? I don't know, but
26.2.
Sure. Whatever. Like we said, it feels longer. You're going to be amazing. And I'm so excited for this team and this region and these members and to be one of them to get to see that. And I can't wait to tune into your podcast.
Oh, well, thank you so much for making me feel so welcome and for everything you've done to make this so much easier for me. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah. You guys check her out, learn more about her, come to an event, and, all of the fun stuff is always on lametrochamber.com. Like and subscribe to this. And if you loved this conversation, share it with somebody you know. We'll talk to you next time.
We're gonna get to know you. We're gonna talk it out. We're gonna get to know you and what you're all about. We're gonna get to know just what makes you feel alive. We're gonna get to know how you build, lead, and thrive. Build, lead, and thrive. Voices of the Androscoggin.